Hi everyone, welcome to everybody today. I'm so looking forward to this, day 2 of the Global Connected Packaging Summit. Just as you're all coming in, I'll give you some quick notes, some quick administration. So this is a live session. That means that you have the opportunity to ask QA live to our panelists. Please do so. Yesterday we had tons of fantastic questions, so do feel free to ask your questions to the panelists and we will get through them all, as many as we can at least today. It is, as I say, a recorded session also, so this will be recorded, this will be available on YouTube and our podcast called The Talking Giraffe, which you will be able to access and enjoy at your leisure. Big welcome to everyone. So this is the second day of our Appetite Creative's third virtual Global Connected Packaging Summit. We had an incredible day yesterday. It was filled with engaging discussions, insightful presentations. We learned about the wide breadth of applications that connected packaging actually brings us. We learned about marketing, campaigns, contests, competitions, games and surveys, the way how we can really collect a lot of data about our consumers and understand their preferences, what they like, their age, their gender, of course, collecting in a GDPR compliant manner, first party data, their names, their email addresses. But also, aside from that, we also learned about different ways where connected packaging can help us in terms of authentication, in helping us identify genuine product, traceability in terms of recall, product recall. We learned about different ways in which we can understand the ingredients. And also we learned about many different trends that are moving and affecting everything in the packaging world, as well as connected packaging. Before we dive into the summit, for those who've just joined, this webinar is live, yet it is also being recorded, so you can visit it later on YouTube or our podcast called The Talking Giraffe. Do ask our panelists. They are excitingly awaiting your questions. So do please add your questions in the QA box located at the bottom of the Zoom window. I'm Jenny Stanley. I am the founder and managing director of Appetite Creative, and we are an industry pioneer in the realm of connected packaging. And it gives me great pleasure to kick off this unique and exclusive event tailored specifically for you guys, for packaging professionals and packaging enthusiasts. So a fantastic welcome to everyone, all of the audience, but also to our amazing panel. And I'm thrilled to really share this morning's panel with so many experts. Today, we're going to be looking into what is shaping the future. We're looking at innovations, we're looking at sustainability. We have our esteemed panelists, and these are experts in their respective fields, and they are ready to share their expertise, experience, and groundbreaking insights with us today. So may I welcome Güneri Tugcu, Senior Partner Manager, Transparency at Amazon. Paul Jenkins, Founder and Managing Director at the Pack Hub Innovation Zone. Lucas Silva, Digital Transformation Sales Solutions Specialist at SIG Gombe Block. And Pippa Guerra, ex-Global Marketing Senior Manager at Evian Danone. So a big welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us on the virtual stage. If you have been to or watched one of our events before, you'll know what's coming next, which is I want to know a little secret, something that not many people know about you. So I'm going to do a quick around the table and then we can get into some of the content today. Pippa, I'm going to you first. You're in my top left hand corner. So tell us, a big welcome to you, of course, but tell us something that maybe not many people know about you.
So hello, good morning, and thanks for having me here. Well, aside from being a marketing professional within the FMCG industry mainly, I'm actually also a musical performer. So I do that as a hobby. I love it. It gives me a lot of energy. There are obviously some, it's natural. There are some connections then with my professional world, right? Because you're communicating, you're bringing stories to life, you're engaging with your audience. But yeah, it's a little bit of a side thing that not everybody or not many people know actually. And I'm not willing to share it with everybody. So being important and being out there.
Is that an instrument or a singer?
Sorry?
Is that playing an instrument or a singer?
Singer, performer, actress.
Ah,
Yeah.
oh, fantastic. Oh, very interesting. Lucas, what about you?
Well, for me, I think besides have been working with technology since the beginning of my career, so I have been developing and working with traceability solutions, connected packaging solutions, industrial management ones. But as a hobby, I really love old cars. Yeah, so I really like to put my hands on to renew old cars and drive them. So it's something. A possibility to reconnect with the roots. Yeah, so it's interesting.
Classic car enthusiast. Fantastic. Thanks, Lucas. Paul, over to you.
Thanks, Jenny. Well, I've already used up my one interesting fact from last year, so I had to really rack my brains about this. About 4 or 5 years ago, I ran from London to Brighton. Well, I say ran, mostly walked. It was about 100k and took me absolutely hours. So that's my interesting fact, never to be repeated. When I say never to be repeated, I mean, I will say it again, but I won't do it again.
I was just going to say, would you do it again? But you won't. So, okay, great. Really nice. Güneri, tell us.
Yeah, good morning. First of all, thank you again for having me here and the opportunity. So, yeah, I think one of the least known but big passion parts of my life has been playing American football. So I've played 12 years American football in the highest division here in Germany and for the Turkish national team. So that kind of helped me to get rid of a lot of stress, as I can confirm you, after practicing games, and also helped me to grow, as a person, team building, taking leadership, ownership. So I'm as passionate as I am, as unfortunately I do less sports by now having 2 kids and 2 cats. But yeah, that's still a big passion and something that quite shaped me for my professional life as well as personal life.
Yeah, definitely. Sports is so important. Sports is so important for so many things. And 2 cats, 2 kids, that's a big family. So
yeah. I don't know which one is worse, but they keep me busy.
Absolutely. All right, well, I'll stay with you. Let's get kicked off. So we're talking about connected packaging. Why is it important for businesses? What value is it really bringing?
Yeah, I think you tackled most of the topics at the introduction, right? Like the possibilities are endless, and packaging is, I would still say, the brand's biggest asset, right? We have had COVID with people spending less time or even not having any opportunities to go into a grocery store or supermarket. So the packaging is the key bridge to your consumers, right? This is where we get the information. This is where you get interested in a product or all the specifications about a brand. So and ensuring that the product that consumers are getting, whether it's consumables, consumer electronics, special nutrition, dietary products, is genuine and authentic is just very essential, right? With the rise of e-commerce through COVID in the past 3 to 4 years, especially, we've seen that more and more people buy online, which is great, right? It's convenient, it's quick, it's reliable, but it also shows the need that we need to make sure that consumers receive the pack that they want. And this is where connected packaging is so powerful. We can not only ensure that the product you receive is authentic and genuine, but it's also connecting with you as a consumer, because you don't have the opportunity to go into a grocery store, right, and spend time at a display and look at the new shelves and all these products that brands have been investing in the past. So connected packaging gives you these endless possibilities to connect with consumers. All the things you mentioned: couponing, gamification, customer loyalty, get more information. Like if you're a parent, if you're a pet owner, if you have special needs for your nutrition, you can all get all these information. And the estate on the packaging is just so limited. This is why we need to engage more with consumers on those digital channels and give them more information, educate and entertain consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. Educate and entertain. That's really, what we're talking about in terms of that kind of front end consumer experience. But Lucas, what about businesses? What does SIG feel in terms of where connected packaging should be? Why is it important for businesses to be involved in this type of activity?
I really believe that it's another really, really nice and important possibility to differentiate the product, yeah? Because I totally agree with Güneri when he mentioned that considering the e-commerce scenario that we had in a more intense way in the last years, it's a possibility to create this bridge to the consumer. but also the consumers are in the supermarket, in the grocery stores, in front of multiple packagings from multiple brand owners. And we have for almost all the packaging very nice layouts, very nice designs. So what else we can add to this experience to push the attention of the consumers? What else we can propose to them to engage, to generate the engagement? So I really believe that the connected packaging, it's a powerful tool to achieve that. And also to explore and to support the customer to change between the purchase channels, because we have the e-commerce, we have the physical options. So how we switch between them? So I really think that the packaging is the link of it. So if he is in the supermarket and he would like to access the digital information, he can use the packaging to connect. And the other way is the same. If he's at home and he has the possibility to access any digital interface, but he would like to interact physically, the packaging is the connection to it. So that's how we have been seeing it.
Yeah, definitely. Paul, what about the overall strategy for businesses? Why is connected packaging important for them?
Well, I think it's here and it's now, and I think there's a customer expectation in this Internet of Things world that we all seem to be getting developing faster and faster with sort of AI hot on its heels. I think there's just an expectation from consumers that they expect more from their packaging from a sort of connected point of view. So they're looking for enhanced engagement, opportunities to engage with the brand, and a really opportunity for brands and to offer something differentiated and innovative. So it's very much here and now. So we track lots of innovations on our platform at the Pack Hub, and we continue to see more and more connected initiatives coming in. So brands that don't play in this space are potentially missing out.
Yeah, definitely. Pippa, what do you think about that? Customers, are they expecting to be able to connect through their packaging? Is that where businesses need to think about things? Absolutely.
I mean, more and more consumers demand communications to be seamless, and for as Lucas mentioned as well, to be able to travel between the channels. If I'm in a store, I might buy a product, maybe not, maybe I'm thinking about it. Is there a quick way for me to be able to find that online? Maybe I purchase this. Dropping in and falling out of channels constantly happens, right? I mean, this is how we process thoughts and how we make decisions. Also, I think, what I would really highlight is the data part of it. It's fundamental. I would say nowadays, it's not a secret at all. People know that there is first-party data. We are agreeing all the time, or disagreeing, or rejecting, right? To give away data for free or not, and the secret here is really to add value. So it would be people know. So we know that we're giving first-party data when we're using connected packaging. What comes out of that? So it's extremely important. What I notice more and more. Managing brands, understanding what are we doing in these pilots of connected packaging as well, what resonates, what doesn't resonate with people, is much more it's okay that I give away my information as long as you do something useful and you really fulfill my needs. So this can go as far as co-creation as well. So this for me is the key for businesses to go for it and make sure you have a team and the right resources to be able to make the most out of that precious data. To constantly improve your products and your services.
Yeah, definitely. Data is so key, and I think that's why some of the big brands, Coca-Cola, AB InBev, are moving to this always-on strategy to be able to harness this data and to be able to understand those consumers. And like you say, it's got to be a trade-off, hasn't it? If I'm going to give my data as a consumer, I want to get something back that's going to make sense for me. Paul, have you got any examples of where you've seen that work well?
What, in terms of data transferring or just general innovations.
General where, you know, there's a connected experience where you feel the balance there between giving data and the consumer experience is one that's positive.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have that granular insight in terms of the sort of the data transfer part of things. But what I can say is give you a little sort of a window in terms of some of the innovations that we're tracking on our innovation zone platform, just the kind of connected initiatives we're seeing. So reuse is one of the big trends at the moment, refillable and reusable packaging. So we're seeing connected packaging being used quite a lot in that area. You would have been aware of Navilens, which is a way of allowing consumers with poor eyesight to be able to see packaging from a distance with using the Navilens technology. And we're seeing some big brand owners playing in that space. And there's lots of sort of anti-counterfeiting example as well to verify authenticity, and also things like for food waste reduction. So you know, smart sensors and things like that. So what I can't do is then translate that in terms of what that means in terms of sort of data. I don't have that sort of level of comprehension in terms of the sort of the data side of things, because I'm not operational. I'm more about the specific trends themselves. But
yeah,
in summary, there are lots of innovations coming to market. We're seeing an increase in the connected packaging that are coming to our attention. So it's a very vibrant and active space with lots more opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Güneri, have you seen anything in particular that's kind of caught your eye recently in terms of connected packaging being done well?
I'm sorry, my sound was cut off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just looking for examples of connected packaging done well.
Just give me sorry.
Pippa, you're unmuted. Have you got any examples?
Yeah. Okay, sorry, my sound was off. You mean examples in regards of successful campaigns or implementations of connected packaging?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, at Amazon Transparency, we have more than 30,000 brands currently working with our program, right? With the main focus of authenticity and traceability through serialization. And I think I'm just catching back on the question before on consumers. I think it's about the value that we offer consumers, right? Consumers are not necessarily looking, do I want to share my data? They look for the purpose. Do I get something back for it? Is there value? Is this something helping me, again, for my nutrition? Sustainability, I think that's really, really important these days. In the past 2 years, projects like Holy Grail has, you know, caught a lot of attention and success for sustainability. So, and if you look through, you know, campaigns that, you know, companies like Blippers, Zapper created, right, or Shazam back in the days before they were bought by Apple, there have been incredible creative campaigns for content and value for consumers, right, where you could just scan. I think one of the best examples is the 19 Crimes wine bottles, right? I think that's still one of the best benchmarks. I preferably also like the Jack Daniels campaign, where you can scan the label and you see this AR experience of the history of Jack Daniels as a company and distillery, but also of Jack Daniels personally as a person, right? Why and his mission. So I think there are great reasons. And I think one of the biggest challenges still remains the education of big brands. And I'm sure people can share more about this, because the bigger the brands are, the more complex they are, right? Globally. And you could talk to probably 20 people at Danone, and they probably never heard of Pippa, because the companies are so huge and produce mass productions in different markets. So I think the consultative part, really sharing and reaching out to brands and sharing the value that it can bring for sustainability, for consumer engagement, for education, is one of the key points. And again, we see a major shift also with the focus to serialization and authenticity. Make sure that, especially like infant formula, we've seen horrible news in the past about, you know, what can go wrong with products in very critical categories. And this is where you can just combine connected packaging and get mostly or all of these benefits at the same time if you do it right with the right partners.
Yes, most definitely. I like what you say there. It's about the value, you know, the value exchange. What is it I'm getting back from this?
Exactly.
Pippa, did you have any examples there?
Yeah, I'd like to share, I mean, comes immediately to mind what we've been doing from an Evian standpoint. So global water brand, extremely prestigious, let's say, within the world of waters, extremely global footprint as well. So a lot of complexities there. And it's the usual challenge, right? You want to be, I mean, you need to represent your brand wherever you are in the world, but you're communicating to such a vast a number of people with different backgrounds, different cultures, that you need to be locally relevant. And this is where connected packaging through geolocation can make a huge impact. One main effort we've been investing is in gamifying, precisely through gamification, engaging and retaining our consumers through, you scan your pack, you go into the world of Evian. So it's also an extreme powerful way to expand the storytelling. So Evian is actually a place. For those who didn't know that, many people don't know that. I didn't know that before joining the company. And it's an amazing, beautiful world in place and town that you can visit. It's a whole experience actually, and it's not something that it's not an attraction park. It's not something that people made for consumers to come and see and attract them. No, this is really part intrinsically of the brand story. There's so many brands with these amazing stories that how can you tell that? It's so far away from the end product, from packaging, right?
Yeah.
So how can we use that? Again, through gamification, by being able to make people travel into the world of Evian through their pack, through their phones, and be able to get some rewards, to be shared some fun facts, and enter this world of gaming, of understanding, and being able, from a company's perspective, from businesses, to, let's say, insert your key message here and there, depending on how relevant or what is relevant for your specific target audience, right? So again, geolocated, you can tell, this is something that we've done, some fun facts about either the birthplace or it's more sustainability, because we sell in Germany, but then we sell in Saudi Arabia, right? So it's really a world, and it gives you all this flexibility to be able to communicate and to bring the essence of the brands much closer to people and make them engage with that. So this is, for me, what I was talking about before. And also what was just mentioned around this added value, right? Like, people know that they're giving their data, but if it's for valuable information and adds on and being able to connect better with brands, of course I'm up for that.
Yeah, no, definitely that value exchange. Lucas, it reminds me of something we were talking about, and it came up yesterday as well, actually, in the summit, which is dynamic pricing. So I know that we talked a little bit about dynamic pricing, and connected packaging can bring that to consumers, right? So actually changing the price based on the expiry. I think that's a great example. Maybe you've got some more.
Yeah. I really think that the connected packaging is an opportunity to achieve it and to deliver something different. But just returning to the cases, I just would like to add some nice examples that I had in my career in the last 5 years, let's say, because it's very interesting what Güneri said and what Pippa said. So Güneri said that we need to add value to the consumers, to understand what they would like to receive. And also Pippa mentioned that reward, it's a nice way to achieve the objectives of the connected packaging. So both of the ideas are connected to deliver to the consumers what they are expecting. If it's a cashback, it's kind of a reward, but you also are adding value to them. If it's transparency in the supply chain, also adding value, rewarding him with an information. So I joined some nice products that impacted on price, as you just mentioned, but also connected with the purpose of the consumer. So we have one nice example in my past opportunities in the career to give transparency to the supply chain of the whiskey, just serializing the item and give the opportunity to the consumer to authenticate it. Also sharing the details of the origin and the supply chain of an acai, for example, an acai that was exported from Brazil to United States. We also did a project with one of the biggest companies in Brazil. And again, related to show to the final consumer from which part of Brazil, from which family the seeds that was used to produce the hand cream comes from, and also multiple rewards program with one of the biggest food producers in Brazil, regarding to acquire points. To as much products that you scan, you acquire points, and then switch it for other items that for sure can impact and can offer possibilities to them to work a little bit different in terms of pricing, by discounts according to the volume that you buy, or giving you a different experience and adds value to the product in the point of sale. So that's what I would like to add, Jem, regarding this topic.
Yeah, no, definitely. We've actually got a question in from the audience already. And that question is, well, thanks everyone for an insightful discussion, but can connected packaging help to drive sales? I've got an answer from what we've seen, but throwing it out there if anybody else has anything they want to add to that.
Yeah, I mentioned before in the beginning of our conversation that I really see, and we have been discussing it, Jen, a lot in our conversations, but I really see the packaging as a bridge to explore other sales channels, to easily switch, as also Pippa mentioned, to easily switch between channels, and also to present channels for the consumers that are not being explored by them at this moment. So let's say a person that is more conservative in the purchase habits, and they just go to the physical stores. If you open the door, if you open the possibility to them to explore another channel, or do, for example, by interacting with the packaging, offer a mass discount. I'm noticing for your consumption habits that you buy every week, you buy 10 packs of, I don't know, white milk. So why not buy in one online and in one-stop shop the 10 packs directly, or the entire volume that you need to the month directly, and use the packaging to do this connection and to offer this possibility to a consumer that was not looking for that before. So I think that we can boost sales, rewarding, as we have been discussing, but also exploring other sales channels.
Yeah, no, definitely being able to move from the retailer to the e-com, making it easy, subscription models like you mentioned as well, bulk discounts, definitely. We talked about this yesterday actually. So there was a couple of different speakers that we had on yesterday's sessions, and I think that in the end what we said was there was between a 15 and 30% increase on average in sales during connected packaging campaigns. So it's significant difference. So yes, Maria, in answer to your question, it definitely can raise sales. What about the sustainability efforts? Where does sustainability and connected packaging come together? I don't know if anyone wants to jump in and answer that one first.
Yeah, if I may. So I think we have right now a very exciting initiative going on, right, which is called the Holy Grail 2.0 project, right? It's basically using digital watermarks as a connected packaging to identify and ensure that we have the right identification and sortation, right? For those who are not aware, it's not only understanding that it is a bottle of orange juice versus a bottle of car oil, it's also making sure that it goes in the right bucket, right, to be recycled later. So I think this is one of the most exciting connected packaging solutions we have right now in the market, is because these packages help to be very much better identified throughout the recycling process. At the same time, consumers can scan it, right? And then we go back to what we've been discussing this morning, is you get all these information, how to sort. Like we have countries heavily regulated like Germany and others in Europe, where you know how to recycle and get rid of your trash. But in other countries, you don't have those similar systems. So you need to educate consumers on the journey to be more sustainable, right? How to sort and all those things. So I think there are ongoing exciting opportunities for connected packaging with a really good purpose on sustainability, but that also enable all of the great things that we just mentioned. And Jenny, just one thing to add, and I think this is something that is underestimated, is regulation is coming and it's going to hit hard on the brands. We talk about digital product passport. We talk about regulatory for soft lines, where you even need to prove where the garment is coming from, right? the origin factory authentication. GS1 is working on getting rid of the barcode, the 2D barcode that we're all used to, and switching to a QR code in the future. There's so much regulatory change coming up, especially for brand owners. That's going to be a tsunami in regards of innovation. And then when we talk about connected packaging, the next level, the true level of connected packaging is actually through serialization. If I want to personalize my experience, if I want to know this is Jenny sitting on a couch enjoying the can of Coke or whatever, right? This is where his personalization through, serialization hits really hard, because then I know this is my consumer ABC in a country, in a city XYZ. So there's so much coming up where brands will have to adapt and move to connected packaging. The question is, do they have the right environment now? Is the supply chain ready? Do they have the right partners, right? It comes to agencies like yours, solution providers, ScanTrust, Digimarc, Avery Dennis, and all Kesslers, all these great companies out there. They're going to be very essential moving on for so many brands in the industry.
Definitely. So much change. And, we actually heard from GS1 yesterday around this change from the barcode to the QR code, which is, fascinating, and so much work needs to be done there, but it's happening. It absolutely is. And then, legislation is changing. It's pushing people, it's pushing brands, to tell people who are their consumers where things are from. Absolutely, like you're saying. And, connected packaging gives that option for brands to be able to relay so much more information that they're actually confined on the label, the physical label itself. Pippa, in terms of sustainability, where do you feel connected packaging really can kind of bring something to the table?
You mentioned it, right? In terms of, for me, a big one, and it's had been a big talk within Evian, particularly, is really how to communicate all the sustainability efforts, how to communicate the certifications that you're getting. We're talking about carbon neutrality. Are we talking about, you name it, because in the end, all of this is living information, right? It's information that, one, are we sure we want to put it on our label that already is so limited in terms of space for communication, for physical communication? Also, what is the order of communication? Is that really important? Is that the most important trigger, or one of the, let's say, top 3 important triggers when you're on shelf and you want to purchase? Usually it's not. It might be, but usually it's not. So where do we communicate? And connected packaging really is incredible at being able to open all this infinite canvas of communication, to be able to, even in terms of building trust, to connect with, you don't need to end up in your landing page, right? And here, obviously, regulations come also in, but how can we make sure that we really get that trust, that we are certified by the Carbon Footprint Association? Or how can we, and this is a way to really, let's say, create a bulletproof or a much more, enhancing and transparency, right? Like this was also mentioned. It's transparency, traceability, being able to rely on the brand's true efforts. So the opposite of greenwashing here, obviously, in terms of sustainability efforts. Who are the entities involved? What are we building today that we didn't build yesterday? And so you're able to track that through connected packaging, via engaging content, so that it's not just a boring information, right? This is extremely important, but it's something that you can very simply weave into your brand storytelling through connected packaging.
Definitely. So educate consumers about what you're doing as a brand. Paul, anything that you want to add there?
I totally agree with Pippa's comments about consumer education. I think there's things like the Holy Grail project are potentially massive in terms of having a disruptive effect on sustainability, a positive one. But there are softer, smaller, more subtle ways that connected packaging can help with sustainability. So just in terms of communicating to consumers about how they should recycle and what they should do, things like also just reducing the need for printed leaflets and pamphlets and just going straight from a QR code to a computer screen. We don't talk about that much, but that must save. I bought a product recently, a new phone, and there were very little other than the actual box. It was a QR code on there, and it directed me to the instructions. So there's little things like that can help, but even things like improving counterfeiting or reduce, anti-counterfeiting measures will, ensure that, products that are bad for and harmful for the environment are less likely to enter the supply chain. So, there's lots of other. There's the big stuff like Holy Grail and some, big projects to help with recycling and things like that. But there's also some softer, smaller things that we sometimes don't necessarily consider.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with that. Yesterday, we had a panel which was looking at pharma, and one of the things that they had done was actually replaced the inside instruction leaflet, that flimsy bit of paper that you get, again with a QR code. So, not necessarily very sexy in terms of AR and some of the examples that we've discussed, but in terms of sustainability, that's a reduction in paper, and that's obviously good for the planet. Lucas, anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think the guys covered very well. We are focusing on education and in use this connection to avoid the greenwashing, mainly these two focus.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll stay with you. We're talking about it being so great. It's fantastic for businesses. You can connect with your consumers. You can help educate around sustainability. There's some massive brands moving to this as they're always on top of communication. This is now a media channel for them. But not everyone is doing that, Lucas. So, what are some of the challenges? Why isn't every single brand doing connected packaging right now?
I believe, and we have the same challenges here once we are discussing new projects related to connected packaging, is to calculate the return of investment of this kind of initiative. Yeah, so how we can calculate it, and we have been trying different approaches, because I think that if we are precise on that, we can justify any new project regarding to connected packaging that we can imagine. So we can use the easiest way, let's say, that is use the benchmarks, the references that we have on the market regarding to increase of sales, and just replicate it to our scenarios, to our cases. But it's not like that. Yeah, it's not information enough to justify a new project. So we have been looking for right now to try social tests, let's say. Yeah. So build mock-ups, let's say, separate an area inside of a partner supermarket or grocery store, build a frame in the display, and let's say put the mock-ups of the products there and watch the interaction of the consumers. Yeah, see what is the consumers that will grab your package, and after they grab your pack, watch the interaction, then have the opportunity to do some quick questions to them, to the ones that grab the packaging and to the ones that do not interact with your proposals. And then you can justify the hypotheses and justify new projects regarding to it. So I think this is one of the main drives, justify the return of investment, and also define the right strategy, really understand the customer, to propose a project that will address the customer needs. Do we really understand, do the brand owners, talking about not all the companies, but some of the companies do not understand the real pains and the real needs of the consumer. So what I will propose if I do not understand it correctly? So I think these are two of the aspects.
Yeah, so real alignment with objectives, not just doing it for the sake of it, but finding something that brings value, right, to both parties. That makes sense, definitely. Pippa, what do you see as the challenges?
So I fully agree with Lucas, and it made me smile because it's this whole exercise, right? If you are looking for to have a fully brand integrated, connected packaging experience to have or to offer to your audience, to your consumers, one, start from what you know today. Have you piloted already a few things? If you come from such a huge industry, huge company as one of you guys said, maybe Lucas, it's a giant organization. So take Danone, right? Is one of my examples. There's obviously we have been piloting it somewhere. Maybe I have no idea about it. So just connect with your people, dig in, try to understand. And if you didn't do that in your company, if you have a smaller business, well, for sure you know someone. I mean, come on, we're not talking about the newest, freshest technology that is so unknown, right? Yes, there is still a lot of being unknown and a lot to explore. And this is really exciting times in terms of technology development. But try and learn. I mean, don't be afraid. As Lucas was suggesting, this is a very common practice, by the way, that I love to do, is just do mock-ups and put it in front of a few people. I mean, sometimes we overcomplicate things. We sit on the computer and we're like, return on investment. So how can I ensure? Look, there is a part of it that is taking a bit of risk. This is part of winning. No, if you don't put a little bit at risk, well, you won't win much. That's for sure. So it's taking a little bit this leap of faith as well. But there is a lot that we know already. And then, yes, it's study it properly. And to Luca's point, I mean, be aligned with your strategies. And I'm only sort of repeating or picking up on the exact two main topics of Lucas, because I couldn't repeat it enough. Quite frankly, in organizations that exist for hundreds of years, it's still something that we don't quite know how to do, or we don't do it very, very well. So just understand where you are. Don't be afraid of piloting things. And yes, obviously it's not a cookie cutter. It's not, but you build from there. You try to understand what's been built in the past. What are the risks? Because many times we're also here in meetings and making, I mean, come on, what is at risk? Let's just go. It offers so many possibilities. So sometimes it's also putting that at scale, right? What's the amazing things we can win? And the worst thing, and maybe start by not investing too much. I mean, don't take too big of a cake, right? Break things down step by step. That would be one of my key advices, and what's I've seen being working in these big organizations with so many priorities and so many areas of investment where we want to take place.
It's like a startup mindset, isn't it, people? So sometimes
Totally.
we are inside of these blue chip companies. And we, as you mentioned, we overcomplicate it. So we need to have a startup mentality. So try it fast, try it cheap. And if it fails, okay, you fail small and cheap, and you can try a different thing in the next month. Yeah. So that's
well,
the idea.
I always am a big believer. No, like if you don't fail, you won't learn so much. The learning comes from failing. So just fail forward. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, definitely. So speak to other people. If it's a big company, there's definitely lots of silos. We see that all the time. And companies say, oh, we did that there, really. Yeah, and being able to kind of connect dots, so 100%, and go for it, right? Paul, have you got anything that you might want to add there in terms of challenges that you've heard perhaps brands talking about?
Yeah, I think, I completely support what has just been said, totally and utterly. I think one of the challenges is brand managers, marketing managers, they have a limited budget, and there's lots of activities and that can form part of their marketing plan. So it's almost a case of understanding what the opportunities are for connected packaging. And I loved your point earlier about the 15 to 30% sales uplift. Those are the kind of sort of things that need to be understood when the decisions are being made in terms of what your strategy is. So I think one of the challenges is getting connected packaging as part of the sort of the promotional marketing mix. It's not necessarily on everyone's radars, and it's almost a simple case of understanding what the opportunities are, what the return on investment might be. So it's almost getting it through the business is one of the challenges rather than an operational one.
Yeah, that kind of knowing more. Güneri, you're working with brands. You're seeing this every day. What are the challenges? Anything extra that hasn't been mentioned?
Yeah, I think the answer to your question is easy to answer, but tough to solve, right? Complex to solve. So what we see at Amazon, again, working with more than 33,000 brands by now, is operational complexity. It's really To be very fair, commercial aspects are not really a bottleneck. Of course, you always want to see why you're investing, how much you're going to invest, and what's going to be the outcome. But if you look at the examples you mentioned, the Coca-Cola Festival bottle, which has been launched in Romania, the 90 Crimes again, you actually see promotional videos that state a 100+% increase in sales. So there's opportunity to sell.
Wow.
What we try to do as at Amazon Transparency is we really try to tackle a need. And I think that's a different approach, right? It's hard to sell if you want to do just like creative campaign and generate user data. That's great to have, but it's hard to measure. How is that going to turn out in numbers in regards of commercial numbers, right? So what we do at Transparency at Amazon is we work with the brands on needs. Do they have counterfeiting issues? Do they have gray market issues? Which basically means, is a product being sold in a country or region where it's not supposed to be, right? You live in the UK, you don't want a German consumer electronics device because you won't be able to plug it in. That's really annoying and a bad experience, right? So stuff like this, because returning it, resending it, that's not sustainable, right? It costs money. So if you really talk with brands, if you have those insights and understanding, the overall understanding of what their needs and supply chain, you actually can tell them, you're not talking about adding a lot of revenue. We're talking about saving costs that you will definitely have, which is going to be a fraction of what you need to invest in actually solving those problems, right? So if you turn the conversation around by saying that, let's solve problems that cost you money, that's going to save you much more than maybe getting 100K or 200K in consumer data value, right? That's nice to have on top of it, but if you have the opportunity to talk to people like Pippa, at the brands and understand and build relationships to understand what are the needs, problems, issues, challenges, like sustainability, like counterfeiting and gray market, then you can actually solve this easily with traceability and connected packaging. And then the savings you make are actually much more higher than potential 10% more sales increase, right? That comes on top of it, because if consumers see there is value, right? And just one thing, and this comes towards your business area, Jenny, is please do good content, right? I've seen so many bad implementations for connected packaging. If you put a static barcode on a chocolate box and all it does is navigate the consumer to your desktop website, please don't do it. Like, please, please, please don't do it, because you're going to make the life so much worse for all of us. Consumers will scan this once, never scan again, and have this assumption of, oh yeah, I did this at the brand XYZ, all it does is a cheeky desktop website. So yes, there's investment needed. But more of this, coming to what Lucas said, patience. Don't set up a thing, a pilot or a mock-up for a week or two. Like, give this time. Consumers need to educate. They need to learn that to scan, generate data. If you set up a project, a pilot for 3 months, 6 months, that might fail, because the amount of data consumers learning to scan, to interact with you, might not be enough to actually generate enough data, right? Have some patience, have some belief. As Pippa and Lucas highlighted, fail. There's no failure, actually. You learn, right? There's learning. So consumers aren't scanning. Okay, analyze why they're not scanning. So I think there's so many different aspects that make it complex. And it could be as simple as how and where to put a QR code on a precious design. Like we talked about Evian, beautiful water, tastes awesome, right? I'm a big fan. So, but talk to marketing about putting a QR code somewhere on the label. They're going to say no, right? Because they spend so much time on have the perfect design, the perfect labels. So all these elements, that's what makes all of our jobs so exciting, but also so complex. So the answer to solve this is complex, but I would say it's always the supply chain overall, from creative, packaging, print to supply chain, procurement. It's all these pieces falling into it.
Yeah, definitely agree with so many things that you said there. I mean, the thing around having a QR code that just takes you to a website, I mean, it's just so bad, so lazy. Yeah. But also, like you say, it turns off the consumer. You make the effort to scan, and that's all you get given. It's kind of like a slap in the face, right? Like, why did I bother to do that? I won't bother again. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And then also, yeah, there is no failure. 100%. There can only be learnings that this is or isn't the right way to go. This is what people like. This isn't what people like. And there's so much around there. You said we kind of finished there with what Lucas started with, align with the objectives of the business. Where can we solve problems? How can connected packaging solve your problem? And there's a massive array of different use cases for it. But what about emerging technologies? There's a lot of new things going on. I think Pippa, you mentioned as well, this is a great time in terms of technology and things moving. where do you see connected packaging moving to? Can you see any new technologies being introduced that can move connected packaging forward?
It's a great question, and I mean, quite frankly, I mean, there is obviously, and it's a world, and it's like duplicating and unfolding of pages in terms of opportunity, from the data collection to how far customized you can really offer that content. Customized to the point of not only being for you, Jenny, and only for you, Jenny, but for Jenny when she's in Madrid, for Jenny when she's in the UK or in China. Like, it's totally different because her environment is different, her mindset is different, her needs are different. So absolutely. I mean, it's a sea out there. I'm very positively overwhelmed with this great discussion. To be honest, Güneri, like, you touched their points that I was like, amen, I would hug you now.
virtual hugs going on here.
Especially on this content excellence, for the sake of for the lack of a better word, please. This for me is one of the biggest, and this one I don't mind to call it really failure, you know, like, come on. I mean, don't be lazy. It's not about QR codes here. It's about what QR codes offer. I mean, you're building a door and you open the door and look at the wall. Seriously? You're building a wall, man. You know, like, you're investing in building an amazing door, door to the world. So create that world. And that's fundamental. So here for me, it would be two things. One, really go far on your creativity in terms of how you connect with people, on the content that you're telling, on what you're telling, but how you're telling. How you're telling is sometimes more important than what you tell, because that makes people retain that information or connect their internal dots and understand that things might be relevant, that if you tell them in a very superficial way, that it doesn't even synchronize. So invest in there, and invest in this potential of geolocation to the max, because there is a max, and we were talking about that offline, Jenny, I mean, come on, if you can really, if this one product is different than the other one, and I'm able to communicate like about this one and not all the copies, then we're also talking about enhancing the value of brands. I mean, you can create a whole new spectrum of value. So I think, I mean, it's this is what I'm talking about when I say there's a world out there in terms of technology, and in terms of making the technology that is honestly already here just working for businesses. Because I think there's a big gap, you know. It's important to be out there in innovation, latest technologies, but come on, we are out there, and then what we implement in most of our brands, we are still really catching up and really at the beginning. So it's how do we make that really into practice and being useful?
Yeah, definitely. Lucas, what about new technologies? What do you see coming down the line? What do you think about connected packaging moving forward?
I totally agree with people regarding the experience. So enhance the experience. I think that is one of the most important drives, and also add value to the life of the consumer as a whole. Yeah, because normally what we see right now, it's loyalty campaigns that you can switch. You can buy 10 products of this brand owner, and then switch for a new product of the same brand owner. And I am the consumer. I should decide what I would like to do with my digital coins. Yeah. So how can use these rewards to add value to another part of my life that it's not directly linked with the brand that I purchased at the first moment, but in fact will bring value to me. Yeah. So I think this platform idea is something to be explored. I saw some examples in the beginning of this journey, but I think that is very interesting. But also talking about new technologies, I would say that we still with a huge opportunity to serialization. Güneri, I know that you work with that a lot, but we have a very different word regarding serialization according to the value of the product. Yeah. So if we're talking about a product with a very high price on the market with very healthy margins, we have space to add a serialization process in the production facility. But when we are talking about a very low price, a very low cost product, we don't have this space. So how we can create this experience, the serialized product experience to the consumers, if the serialization technology today are not viable to some of these items. So I have been seeing also interesting technologies regarding to image decoding, so they can identify micro variations in the regular printing process of the QR codes. And by these micro variations, this is the serialization. I don't need to add any other device in the production line. So other technologies in which we add some particles that can emit frequency waves. Some small particles are inside of the material of the packaging, and once we interact with them, they can return some frequency waves, and this is the serialization of the product. So some nice approach, some nice ideas. I am anxious to see how it will achieve a higher scale.
Yeah, it's most interesting, I think, as well, being that higher scale part, being able to also replicate that and easily so. Güneri, what do you think about new technologies, the future?
I think there's great tools out there, right? And Lucas and everybody here just mentioned some. I'm a big fan of NFC and RFID. I think, when we talk about intelligent packaging, two-way communication, those technologies are great. But it comes back to what Lucas just said. We really need to understand, does it make sense for the kind of products I'm selling? I mean, honestly, serialization is powerful, and I think it's going to be a must-have. But are we talking about a bag of ramen noodles for 50 euro cents with a 2% margin? Does it need serialization? I think that's a different question. I think the question is really, Danny, what am I selling, and what technology do I need? RFID NFCs are great, but if I produce like 500 million shampoo bottles or 1 trillion yogurt cups, do I need to invest, right? It's also about sustainability. Do I need to add electronics? Do I need to add special inks to it? I think this is why there's no clear answer to this. There are different solutions for different needs, right? There are exciting solutions, two-way communication, sensors, all that great stuff. But do I believe it's going to be relevant for consumables industries? I don't think so. It's going to be too much, too expensive, not sustainable enough. And honestly, it's kind of like, put a QR code, if it's serialized, awesome, right? Put great content, add the content, change the content, give consumers a reason to come back again, right? Yeah. If I buy a product that lasts for a month, give me a good reason to rescan again, right? Yeah. Whether it's customer loyalty, couponing, subscription service, we talked about that. I think those are great technologies, not necessarily like, tips or anything you add to it. I think we have all we need right now, and we're not even at the beginning, we're far away from the beginning to actually start utilizing the power of all the things we have. And again, could be a series of data metrics or QR code, which you can use for manufacturing, consumer engagement, etc. There are great new technologies, and you can still combine it with AR and all these great experiences that add value and entertainment to it, right? So it's not maybe necessarily a new tech coming up somewhere. Watermarks are great, NFC chips are great, but they have particular strongholds where they, can utilize the power they bring in, but they're not probably the best solution for, high industry volume productions like consumable industries like Danone, Nestle, P&G. These companies are so efficient. And SIG, you guys, Tetra Pak, right? You produce packaging on an incredible level of speed and efficiency. And adding something that just adds maybe a second to it, and this is also a challenge we have at Amazon, right? When we talk about efficiency, and you add something that's going to slow down the fulfillment centers for a second, that's just going to be a big, big problem. So, right? So look for smart technologies, not necessarily the high-tech solutions, but maybe there's a very easy, low-hanging fruit technology out there that can give you all the benefits you need, and then add the right content to it.
Yeah, most definitely. I love what you say about dynamic content. Just because you put up something once does not mean it needs to stay there for the next 12 months. I mean, no one would do an advertising campaign like that. So why would you do that with a QR code campaign, right? Paul, we're kind of coming to the end, but I don't know whether there's anything else that you want to talk about in terms of new technology or where you see the future.
Yeah, I'll be really quick because obviously we're right up against it in terms of time. But I think there's AI has exploded in the last 6 months, and I cannot believe that won't have a significant impact on how we run campaigns and how we communicate with the consumers. I don't know what that looks like yet, but just the way it's growing and its versatility in terms of what it can do, I would imagine that AI will have some interesting ways of making connected packaging even more engaging, useful in terms of data and all sorts of things. So I think AI is something definitely to watch.
Yeah, I completely agree. AI, we're starting to do different things in terms of using AI to create imagery, to give answers to questions in some of the connected packaging campaigns. So it's already starting to happen, and literally we're scratching the surface. So yeah, 100%. There is actually a question that's just come in, and I want to ask it before we close up. I'm going to leave it out there. I think it was an anonymous attendee says, how can connected packaging assist in combating counterfeiting, specifically in industries such as luxury goods, cosmetics, premium wines and spirits? Güneri, do you want to take that one?
Yes, happy to. And the answer is in many ways, in very efficient ways. So, this is where traceability comes in, right? When we talk about connected packaging, it's not necessarily only the education and tame part, but also authentication. And if you have serialization solutions, and Amazon Transparency is one of them, but there are also many great other solutions out there. Then you can actually add different layers of protection to it. You can have what we call the two-factor authentication. You could have multiple codes on a packaging, covert, overt. That basically means one is maybe visible. Let's say you have a serialized QR code, right? Everybody knows how to scan it. You can easily educate consumers to connect. And then there's a second one hidden somewhere, right? Could be special inks, could be print finger marks, as Lucas mentioned, or could be watermark, right? Invisible to the consumer, and they scan, and they can authenticate that the packaging, the secondary packaging, let's say the folding carton of the premium perfume and the bottle itself, you scan both elements, they match, and you get the authentication. So there are incredibly efficient, affordable, and scalable solutions out there to ensure product authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely. Different ways of being able to do it. You mentioned some there. Anybody want to add to that? Pippa, Paul, Lucas?
I think I totally agree with Güneri. I think that serialization is the key element for that. We have nice technology to enable the visibility of the serial number, let's say, and by scanning that, you validate the authenticity. We have some possibilities in which you have a watermark that you will be visible with a special light, and if you see something different in the product that put in check the authenticity, you can bring it to a special inspection and find for these hidden marks. So I think this is one interesting fact. Also some other ways to hide the codes, like as I mentioned in the case that I worked in the past with one of the brand of whiskey, one very high value brand of whiskey, they put the serial number under a cover in the neck of the whiskey. Yeah. So once you totally open the bottle of the whiskey, you would expose the serial number and would be able to scan that. So, and a question that we always receive when we were talking about serialization in that time was, okay, but someone can buy one authentic product, one authentic whiskey, see a valid serial number, yeah, and replicate this valid serial number for multiple different products. Then we return to the Pippa's example of the geolocation. Yeah, does not make sense. I have one serial number being scanned in 10. Let's suppose an extreme example. Yeah, 10 different countries in the same week. So, yeah. Okay, we have a problem with this code, and then we can ask all the consumers with this product to come to a store to the proper decision regarding what to do. So there is multiple strategy, but will depend of the product characteristics and the consumer needs.
Yeah, and also remembering that first time that genuine code was input, that can then be burnt. So then all those other 9 will actually get rejected as no longer being an authentic serial number as well. So there's so many different ways to get around it. I'm going to draw us to a close. We have had a fantastic session. Thank you so much for some great examples, great inspiration, Really, really nice. Thank you for your perspectives. There's been quite a lot of compliments on the LinkedIn live streaming as well. So thank you to the LinkedIn audience, as well as those who have joined us today on Zoom. I'm going to be back in 60 seconds. We've used our break already, but I'm going to be with Gregor Murray. He's e-commerce channel development director at Kellogg Company, and he's going to be ready to dive into connected packaging for sustainability and consumer connections. Don't go away. See you very soon.